A former Mississippi police officer has been sentenced to 20 years in prison for the racially motivated torture of 2 black men. He's the first of 6 white officers to be charged for their involvement in the January 2023 crime. CBS News national correspondent Errol Barnett is following the story from Jackson, Mississippi.
Egregious and despicable. Those words from a federal judge in Mississippi describing the actions of former cops Hunter Elwood, sentenced to 20 years, and Jeffrey Middleton, sentenced to more than 17 years. They, along with 4 others, some of whom refer to themselves as the Goon Squad, pleaded guilty to breaking into this home early last year without a warrant, then terrorizing and torturing 2 black men, all apparently because they stayed at this house with a white woman.
The 6 white police officers involved in this assault sought to dehumanize their victims.
During the ordeal, both were handcuffed as deputies poured milk, alcohol, and syrup on their faces, calling them racial slurs. At one point, Michael Jenkins was shot in the mouth.
Looking at me, I'm looking at him, and we sat there for a minute, and they pulled the trigger.
You can see the bullet, coming out of the gun. I mean, the fire coming out, and it was horrific.
The federal charges were brought by the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division.
Hard to imagine a more atrocious set of civil rights violations than those carried out by these guys.
An investigation by the Associated Press revealed that since 2019, some of these deputies had been involved in at least 4 violent assaults on black men. They resulted in 2 deaths and another suffering lasting injuries.
They're not just depriving victims of their civil rights, they're degrading the public's trust in our criminal justice system.
Now, there are still 4 additional deputies to be sentenced later this week. And during today's hearing in the federal courthouse you see behind me, there was a moment when one of the officers who is being charged stood to address the court and said he accepts responsibility. He then apologized, John, to the 2 victims who are in the courtroom. Only one of them, Eddie Parker, then turned to him and said, "I forgive you." It was a remarkable moment.
Wow, that's extraordinary. Errol, what else should we be keeping an eye on for the rest of this week?
Well, according to the team prosecuting this case and defending the 2 victims, it isn't just about the so-called Goon Squad, this team of 6 police officers and detectives who are part of this one racist torture incident. What they're saying now is that Brian Bailey, who is the sheriff of the county department that these officers worked with, that he should resign. The victims, in fact, have a $400 million civil lawsuit they are filing against him and that department. Basically, what they're saying is none of the so-called Goon Squad who are being sentenced this week could have gotten away with what they did if it weren't for the sheriff. And I asked one of the lawyers, what do you say to people of color in this part of Mississippi who don't know if they're safe? And what the lawyer said is because of this week's sentencing, they should feel safer, but that there is a long way to go in truly bringing civil rights equality and justice to the people here of Mississippi.
A famous city for that struggle. Errol Barnett in Jackson, Mississippi. Thank you so much.